All right, y'all. Welcome to the Neural Dojo. This is a space where humans and machines meet to think out loud. And around here, we call it binary banter. These are short, smart conversations that explore how our intelligence, creativity, and curiosity grow together. No hype, just dialogue worth hearing. In the dojo today, you've got me. I'm Kyrie, aka KT, the AI Sensei, and I'm rocking the first part of the session solo. But I do have a special guest later in the pod. My wife Qiana will be joining me in a minute. It's her first time on the pod, so I'm really looking forward to it. Today, we're stepping into the deep end. We're talking about what happens when you walk into an emergency room in really bad pain and the person deciding how fast you get seen isn't a person at all. Now, real quick, before we dive into the numbers, I got to drop a hard warning. I'm a tech guy, not a doctor. Even if my beautiful wife sometimes sarcastically calls me Dr. Taylor because of how much I know about nutrition and fitness. But let me be clear, nothing in this episode is medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. We're talking about data, systems, and speaking up for yourself. If you got a medical issue, talk to a real doctor or healthcare pro. Don't use this podcast or any AI as a stand-in for real medical care. All right, with that out of the way, let's get into it. A massive study out of Harvard Medical School just put OpenAI smart models up against real ER doctors in figuring out who needs help first. The AI hit exact or near exact answers 67% of the time based on medical notes. The head human doctors, they only score between 50% and 55%. Let's keep it a buck, that's a huge jump in tech. ER doctors were exhausted and burning out. AI doesn't get tired at 3 a.m. and it doesn't forget a rare symptom. As a big boost, AI triage could mean catching deadly conditions earlier. But AI is a multiplier. And multiplication gets real awkward when the starting point you're multiplying is broken from the start. Look, I'm not just giving you my feelings here. These are facts. AI models learn from past data. And looking back, the medical data we rely on is very lopsided. Up until the early 90s, the vast majority of our early medical books, tests, and symptom guides were focused mostly on middle-aged white men. That means the textbook symptoms and AI's trained to look for might not match reality if you aren't in that specific group. The real-world impact of this is already scary. According to a proven study published in PNAS, and yes, that acronym sounds exactly how it's spelled. I had to look it up. Apparently, there's been a long-running joke about how it's pronounced phonetically since its inception way back in 1915. Anyway, the study showed that women in the ER wait an average of 30 minutes longer than men to be seen for bad stomach pain. Women wait an average of 65 minutes for pain meds, while men wait only 49 minutes. It's a proven habit of thinking women were faking it, where the system naturally assumes women were making up their pain. And the racial bias is just as bad. Black and Hispanic patients always face longer wait times for medical choices in the ER, with average doctor decision times of 228 minutes for Black patients and 233 minutes for Hispanic patients, compared to just 213 minutes for white patients. So if an AI learns from past records where doctors routinely ignored women's pain or made Black and Hispanic patients wait longer, the AI is going to do the exact same thing, just faster and with cleaner looking math. Now, I can give you stats all day, but to understand what this actually looks like and feels like in a cold hospital waiting room, I asked someone very special to step into the dojo today. She usually stays behind the scenes, but we've got almost 23 years of marriage on the books this coming June, so I guess she owes me a solid. Everybody, welcome my beautiful wife, Qiana, to the dojo.
Hey y'all, wow, babe. 23 years, huh? You make it sound like a prison sentence when you say on the books. Also, can we just appreciate that I didn't have to call you into my office to fix my mic? You should be so proud of me right now.
Hey, I'm incredibly proud. I didn't have to do any tech support, but look, the truth is, I wanted you here today because we live this. We know exactly what it feels like to be completely pushed aside in a medical emergency. You want to set the scene for them on the day our youngest offspring was born?
Offspring? Really? I can't with you. Diabolical.
Here you go, stealing my words again.
Anyway, yeah, I can tell the story of our miracle baby. Okay, so boom.
Wow, really? Okay, I see you.
Yep. Now that is me stealing your words. So, as I was saying, I was upstairs in our bedroom, and out of nowhere, I felt this pop inside, followed by a sudden wetness. Now, we already had two kids at this point. This was for our third, but my water had never broken on its own before. So, at first, I was actually a little excited. I thought, oh, wow, my water just broke. But then I walked to the bathroom, turned around, and saw a trail of blood behind me on the carpet.
Yeah, man. It went from excitement to pure panic in about 2 seconds. We immediately called 911, but before the ambulance arrived, the fire department did. Suddenly, we had about 8 firefighters standing in our bedroom, mostly men and I think one woman, right?
Yeah, there was one woman. Um, so one of them tells us he needs to check to make sure the baby isn't breaching. I don't want to dwell on it, but it was just such an awkward spot to be in.
I'll never forget you looking at this crowd of mostly guys in full gear and going, um, do all of y'all need to check?
Hmm. Yeah. At that point, all but the woman quickly stepped out of the bedroom, and about 5 minutes later, the ambulance finally showed up.
Right. And looking back, that ambulance ride was a warning of things to come.
Yeah, the ambulance ride was terrible. I had this super green EMS guy begging me not to have the baby in the ambulance. You were nervous. So you're sitting up front cracking jokes. Meanwhile, this dude is so nervous, he ends up puncturing my vein and blood starts spraying all over the back. It was crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy. Once we got to the hospital, that's where things started going really left.
I mean, completely left. Here I was, pregnant, brought in by ambulance, and we're telling everyone we saw I'm not just spotting, I'm bleeding a lot. But they just stuck me in a hallway, then in a room. They made us wait for what felt like hours. I was terrified, and they acted like I was overreacting to normal pregnancy spotting. I'm telling them I haven't felt the baby move since the pop. It was crazy. Finally, I'd had enough. The nurse came in. I literally lifted my leg to show her the amount of blood that was pouring out of me.
Ugh, it was infuriating. We literally had to fight with the staff. We had to get loud, speak up for your safety and baby girl's safety, and basically demand that you be put in line for a real ultrasound. It seemed like they had you marked as a low priority despite all the physical proof.
Yup. Then then finally after showing her the horror show that was happening down under, they got us into a birthing room. You had stepped out into the hallway just to make a quick phone call to update our family because everyone was worried sick.
Right. I was out there for maybe 5 minutes,
Hmm.
and um, what happened while I was gone?
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. The ultrasound tech came in, did a quick check on my stomach, and her entire face dropped. She rushed out of the room without saying a word to me, and suddenly, a massive team of people stormed in. Everything started moving at warp speed.
Right. I come back down the hallway to
Mm-hmm.
find them wheeling you out. The doctor meets me on my way up the hallway and tells me they've got to do an emergency C-section. And because it was an emergency, I couldn't be in the room. I wasn't allowed in. They rush you off to surgery, barely telling you what was going on.
Yeah, very scary. It turned out that pop I felt, it was a placental abruption. My placenta had detached. That's why I was bleeding so much. It was a deadly emergency for both me and the baby, and they had just left me sitting there for all that time. Thinking about it now, um, it was very traumatic. I remember having to physically stop them from touching me and explain what they were doing. They were shaving me and putting in a catheter, no anesthesia. Yeah, babe, crazy work.
It still pisses me off. But thankfully, you and our daughter made it through all that.
Yeah.
But I fully believe it was only because we fought to be taken seriously. Now,
Mhm.
I want everyone listening to imagine something for a second. Imagine if, when we arrived at that hospital, our intake data was fed into a cold AI algorithm, an algorithm trained on data that routinely ignores women's pain. What if that AI quietly scored her as low priority behind the scenes? We might have. lost you, or baby girl, or both.
Yeah, my miracle baby. But babe, the opposite is also possible, right? AI might have spotted the symptoms and flagged it as a priority before we needed to fight.
True, but only if the human in the loop didn't lean into their bias. They'd have to type exactly what's happening into the system and use bleeding heavily instead of just spotting.
Right. That part. It's like you always tell me when I get frustrated because some AI tool won't do what I want. Your output is only as good as your input.
Exactly. In other words, crap in, crap out. But yeah, whew, talk about stressful. But I mean, that's what's at stake. When the AI gets it wrong, the real world costs can be huge, which is why in the next segment, we're going to walk you through 3 dojo drills, practical moves you can use to speak up for yourself and your family when you're facing down the algorithm in the ER. All right, let's get into the dojo drills. Drill number 1, the pre-triage prompt. This is about fighting unfair guessing. When people who are often ignored say, I'm in pain, algorithms and doctors in the past downplay it. So before you leave for the hospital, use a secure AI to translate your symptoms. Prompt it, I'm going to go to the ER, organize these symptoms into clear, direct medical bullet points.
Oh, I love this one because when I was bleeding, I was absolutely panicked. It's so hard to talk clearly when your adrenaline is spiking and you're scared. But if you can hand them a clean medical list, it forces them to look at the facts of your trauma, not how panicked they think you are.
Big facts, babe. Which leads us perfectly into drill number 2, the human context injection. AI only knows the chart and the math. It doesn't know your normal state. You've got to tell them the details the machine can't see. Don't just say, my stomach hurts. Say, I've got a very high pain tolerance. This is my 3rd pregnancy. I know my body, and this is a 10 out of 10.
Right. You really have to break the assumptions. With our emergency, their starting assumption was just pregnant women spot it's normal. I had to actively try to force the human nurses to look at me, my history, and the sheer amount of blood, not just the standard rules for pregnancy. You really got to be your own context and speak up for your specific situation.
Exactly. You've got to break the loop. And that brings us to our final drill, drill number 3, the second opinion sandbox. This is for when you're sitting in the room and the treatment plan they hand you feels like they don't care. While you're waiting, use a secure AI on your phone. Prompted. A doctor suggested X treatment for Y symptoms. What are 3 smart, important questions a patient should ask to challenge this or make sure nothing's missed?
This is so powerful because it gives you the right words to fight back. When you're sitting in that paper gown, you can feel totally powerless. You don't have a medical degree. Having an AI hand you the exact questions to ask gives you the confidence to say, hold on, aren't we going to do an ultrasound first? Which I strongly believe is exactly the pushback that saved my life and baby girls.
Yeah, me too, babe. Me too. Real talk, AI is going to make healthcare faster, but it's up to us to make sure we use it to make healthcare fairer. The tech's powerful, but you're still the main voice for your family's health. My love, thank you, thank you, thank you for stepping into the dojo today and sharing something so personal with the people.
Of course, babe. Hopefully this helps another family avoid what we went through. Thanks for having me. I'll let you wrap things up here. Love you. Bye y'all.
Love you too, babe. So I know I'm biased, but ain't she dope? Man, I love that woman. All right, to everyone listening, have you ever felt your pain was ignored in a medical setting? How'd you handle it? Drop it in the comments. We've got to have this conversation out in the open. And with that, we'll call it. You've been listening to the Neural Dojo, where binary banter meets mindful conversation. I appreciate you tapping in with me and the Wiz today. If something sparked your curiosity, share it. Tag a friend or 10 and keep the dialogue going. Until next time, stay curious, stay balanced, and keep training your mind. Peace.